are back on the record in file 24-21841-FC, People of the State of Michigan versus Dale Warner. I'd like to just thank everyone for their patience this morning. Is there anything we need to address before we bring the jury in?
I just want to put a handful of stipulations on the record as far as his exhibits go. We would stipulate to, I'll wait.
Go ahead.
All right, Exhibit 250, the surveillance footage. We added 263, 264, and 265, which are aerial maps. And we would stipulate to those.
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right, so 250, 263, 264, and 265 will all be admitted pursuant to stipulation.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Anything else?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
You may be seated.
All right, people may call their next witness.
The people would call Ivan Boyd.
Sir, before you sit down, I'll ask you to raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty for perjury?
I do.
Okay, you can go ahead and sit down.
Can you state your full name and spell it for the record?
Ivan Alexander Boyd, IVANALEXANDER, Boyd, BOYD.
Where were you employed in April of 2021?
War Egg Farms,
And how long had you been employed there at that point in time?
4 years.
Did you work for the farm business?
Yes.
And did you become familiar with Dale Warner?
Yes.
Did you become familiar with Dee Warner?
Yes.
What was your relationship with Dale Warner like?
He was my boss. We worked together closely. Besides the mechanic and one other hand, I handled most of the field work that he didn't have time to do or wanted me to do.
Okay. And you said besides the mechanic or another field worker, who are you referring to?
I was referring to Jim Hawkins and Randy Kane.
Okay. What was your relationship with Dee Warner at that time like?
I mean, as good as it ever was or wasn't. I mean, it depended on the day, but we were close.
Okay.
She was, again, my boss.
Okay. When you say it depended on the day, what do you mean by that?
To have good days, and she'd have bad days where, you know, something upset her, and you just, it was what it was, and you left it alone, and you just, if you couldn't help, you just stayed out of the way.
What were your typical job duties on the farm?
I ran truck for the trucking for the trucking company side of it, and then when I would come back, we'd farm.
Okay, when you say ran truck for the trucking side of it, what do you mean?
I helped out with the trucking. I I would run loads for the trucking side of the company when we didn't necessarily have enough for me to do in the off season.
Okay, so when you say run loads, are you talking about doing deliveries or pickups?
Yes, deliveries and pickups. So
Okay.
I would leave in the morning and come back usually sometime in the afternoon.
And when you talked about farming, tell me what that entailed.
I applied fertilizer. I worked ground, odds and ends kinds of things. Took care of the cows, stuff like that.
Okay. Did you do any of the mechanical work on the farm?
I did from time to time.
And what would that be?
General maintenance, mostly on the trucking side of it. I would do services, tire changes, general maintenance stuff up to diagnosing electrical lights, stuff on the trailers. Just pretty much anything that needed to be done.
Did you ever have to do any welding on the farm?
Yes, from time to time.
Okay, and what types of things would you have to weld?
Brackets, small repairs on trailers, on trucks.
Where did most of your work get done?
Most of, as far as the mechanical work,
If you were working on the farm property that day on Munger Road, would you work in a specific area?
usually in the old shop. That's where most of the tools and all of the supplies and everything were.
Okay. Can I have Mr. Lee flip that first exhibit over for me, please? Okay, and I'm showing you People's Exhibit 263. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And what is that area?
That is the layout of the home farm on Munger Road.
Okay. There should be a pointer up there on the stand with you, a little collapsible, pulls out. Do you see it?
Yes.
All right. Can you identify the old shop where you just testified you normally did work?
That would have been number one right here. Mostly in the front part here, that is where the main shop is, and then this back here was mostly just part storage.
I'm sorry, your head was turned,
Oh.
so.
This is number one. This
Yep.
is the old shop. The front part here is where most of the work occurred.
Okay.
And then the back part here is mostly storage.
Storage, okay. Who were the employees that you dealt with most often on the farm?
Probably Jim Hawkins and Dale.
Did you know Jason Gravel?
I did. I guess I didn't know him really well. At that time, I was still trucking quite a bit, and I would only be back for a few hours in the end of the day, and depending on what he was working on, I didn't really spend a whole lot of time with him, no.
Okay. Did you know Todd Nierink?
I did.
And who was Todd to you?
Todd Nierink was the dispatcher. He's who told me what trailer I needed to take, gave me my marching orders for the morning as far as trucking.
Okay. And would somebody different give you marching orders for the farming side of things?
Usually Dale would give me whatever it was that I was doing when I got back.
Did you know Terry Nierink?
I did.
And who was Terry? at the
Terry
farm?
is Todd's brother. He also drove truck for the trucking side.
Okay. Did you interact with him a lot?
Not really, other than to ask him if he came back and he had a problem with his truck. I would ask him what was going on with it, but other than that, no.
Okay. Were you familiar with Jaron Warner?
Yes,
And who was Jaron?
Jaren is Dale's son.
And did he also work on the farm at that time?
Yes.
And do you know what he essentially did for the farm?
Again, odds and ends stuff, mostly spreading fertilizer, dry fertilizer.
How long had you known Jaron in up to April 2021?
About 4 years, about the same amount of time that I worked there.
And did you have any opportunities during the 4 years to observe Jaron driving onto the property or off of the property?
Yes.
All right, and did you know what vehicle he typically drove?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to show you People's Exhibit 81. So this is a screenshot from a body cam dated 4/27/21. Do you recognize the person not with the sheriff's vest
Yes.
on? Okay, and who is that?
That's Jaron Warner.
Okay, so if I'm looking at this photograph to the left, you see two trucks, correct?
Correct.
All right, so the farthest truck to the left, away from Jaron, do you know whose truck that is?
That is Dale's new truck.
Okay, and how do you know that?
It has step boards and it is taller. He also had, if I remember right, black bumpers on his work truck, and that has a chrome bumper.
Okay, what about the vehicle directly in front of but to the left of Jaron?
The GMC,
Yes.
that is Jaron's truck,
Okay, and how do you know that?
because that was the that was the only black GMC that we that was on the farm.
And then you mentioned Jim Hawkins that you knew from the farm.
Yes,
Do you know what Jim Hawkins' typical duties would be on the farm?
general maintenance, whatever needed fixed. He was the head mechanic.
The head mechanic, okay. And then you mentioned Dale. Did Dale typically do work on the farm?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay. Do you know what types of things Dale did as far as the farming side of things go, or no?
Dale was primarily responsible for spraying any application of chemical, not fertilizer, anhydrous, as far as applying it to the fields owned by the farm, planting, anything small and little. We usually on the weekends spray weeds, stuff like that. Basic duties a husband will carry out.
Okay. Did you ever, during the 4 years that you worked there, observe Dale welding anything?
Once or twice, maybe, yeah.
Okay. Were they any big projects?
Not usually.
Who would typically do the welding work for the business?
Prior to him leaving, Randy Kane usually did most of the welding projects, and after that, I believe Jason did.
Jason,
Gravel.
okay.
Both of them had more experience and were better welders.
And did you know Zach Bach?
Yes,
And how long had you known Zach Bach?
about 4 years.
Okay. Was it? Did you meet him at the time that you started at the trucking company, or
I
prior?
met him about 2 months before I started working for Dale and Dee.
Okay. And what's your relationship with Zach Bach?
He's my fiance.
So have you been with him the entire time since 2017?
No.
Okay.
When I left the farm in June of 21, I also left Zach.
Okay. And did you at some point reconcile?
Yes.
When was that?
I believe it was September.
Of that same year?
There, yes.
September
Correct.
21?
Correct.
So you talked a little bit about the sprayer. What is the sprayer? What's the function of that?
Sprayer applies fungicide, herbicide, and pesticides in liquid form to the field.
Okay. Do you know if there was a Kubota on the farm?
Yes,
How many were there?
there were 2.
Okay. I'm going to show you People's 21. Do you recognize that Kubota?
Yes.
And what did the other Kubota look like? Let me start there.
The other Kubota was gray. It had no glass in it and no doors and was fairly beat up.
Okay. When you say gray, was it like fully gray or?
It was gray, so everything that's black on there basically was gray, and the body panels were also camo on that one as well.
Okay, so it was camo with gray as opposed to black in the 21 photograph.
Yes.
Okay. And who would typically drive the Kubota in 21? This photograph right here.
That was Dale's.
Okay. Did anybody else drive that Kubota?
Very rarely, unless we were in a field with him doing tile work or something like that, but no. There would be no reason for anyone else to drive it on the farm.
Okay. And is that because there was the second Kubota?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to show you People's Exhibit 20, the JCB. Are you familiar with that item?
Yes.
And what types of things around the farm did you do with that item?
It loaded fertilizer. That was its main duty. It's sitting in the fertilizer barn in that picture. We also used it. To load various things around the farm.
When you say the fertilizer barn, I'm going to refer you again to the map behind you, and I'm going to have you identify what you're referring to as the fertilizer barn.
In that picture there,
In that picture,
it is sitting in this barn right here, barn number 2, and it's sitting about
actually right where my pointer is.
Is there another name for that, JCB?
Telehandler.
A what?
A telehandler, but that we all called it the JCB.
Okay. Have you ever referred to it as a front end loader?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay.
I haven't, no.
You haven't personally. Okay. If you did welding on the farm, what location would you have done the welding at?
Every time that I welded, I did it in.
Objection, relevance.
It goes to the location, the spray barn would not be a location that you would weld in, and that's exactly where we're alleging that Mr. Warner did the welding.
But what does it matter where he would weld?
I think it's relevant to where other people welded or where welding typically occurred on the farm is relevant, so I will rule that objection.
Thank you.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Where would you typically do welding at on the farm if you were welding?
Typically, welding was done in the old shop,
which would be the barn number 1 there
on the chart.
There were several welders in that barn, as well as in this part of barn number 5. There was also a welder.
Okay, and what do you call barn number 5?
That was the new shop.
All right, so I'm going to take you back to number 1, the old shop, and can you earlier you identified there's a front portion of the old shop and a back portion of the old shop. Can you identify which portion of that shop the welding would be done?
That would be done in the front part up here. Most of the so there's a barn door and a bay in the center, and then all the different equipment is down this side of the shop here. The line right here is the separation between the upstairs and the downstairs part of it.
Okay, so essentially if you were inside the front portion of the old shop, you would have to go up a level to the second section in the back that you described?
You would have to go down. You would go down the
Down.
ramp into the back section.
Okay, perfect. And then in the new shop, that's a pretty big building there, number 5. Can you identify where in there, the new shop, the welding equipment would have been?
It would have been somewhere in these. I believe there was 3 bays in this barn here. So there's what's called an apron on this barn here. That is about the reference where the shop part stops, and the front part of that was storage. But this part was the shop, so that would have occurred somewhere in here.
Did you ever do any welding in number 7, building number 7?
Not that I can recall.
Okay, and what do you what do you call building number 7?
Building number 7 is the spray barn.
Okay. Have you ever observed anybody else doing any welding in the spray barn?
No.
All right, we're going to go back to the old shop, and I'm going to show you some photographs of the inside so we can get a better understanding what that layout looks like. I'm going to show you Exhibit 146 that was taken on April 27th, 2021.
Yes.
Is that the old shop?
Yes.
Okay. Point to, so you talked about a bay door. Is that what you just described on the front of that building, number 1?
Yes.
Okay, can you point to it again, please?
So that photograph is taken in this back corner, looking east, and that door the overhead door that you see is on this end of the barn.
Exhibit 147.
Yes.
And so that's just kind of turning a little bit to one wall. Which wall would that be?
That would have been the south wall. So that would be looking. That walk door is in this corner, on this end of the barn, and that bench there is this front side here.
And there's some items up there. It looks like a shelf. Is that a shelf?
Yes.
Okay, and so what types of items are on that shelf?
That was all what we call consumables. So there would be paint, there would be there was lubricants, basically anything that you used part of a can, you'd put it up there. Wrenches, tools that you would use often.
Okay. When you say paint, are you referring to like a can of paint or?
Various cans of paint that would be, they were just whatever so say you welded on something, you didn't want it to rust, you'd hit it with whatever you had that kind of matched what was on it, and that was where we kept it. They were just half-used pieces.
Okay. So maybe I'm sorry, maybe I asked the question wrong. So the paint cans that you saw up there, are they your typical big paint cans, or are you talking about spray paint?
They would be spray cans.
Okay.
Everything that was up there was all aerosol. All the brake clean, all the consumables were aerosols.
People's 148, and again, is that just moving over again a little bit?
Yes, that would be further towards this end here.
Okay. And what types of items are in that area right there?
Again, they're consumables. There's some wrenches, our grinding discs, all that stuff was kept in pretty close proximity because we used it quite often.
All right, so you mentioned grinding discs. Were grinders kept in this area as well?
I believe so, yes.
All right, here's Exhibit 149, and that photograph was taken on October 11th, 2021. Can you just describe that for me?
That would be standing in the walk door that I mentioned before in this front corner here, and the viewpoint is looking back towards this back corner back here.
Okay, so if I were to walk all the way back there, and you discussed going to the back section from there, how do I get there from here?
You would walk directly almost into the center of that picture. There's a large red toolbox back there, and there was a path back there to get down a ramp to get into the back section.
Okay. And this is People's 150, and so, again, tell me where I'm at. Is this still the old shop?
Yes.
Where am I at in the old shop?
You are just zoomed in on the left side of that picture. That would be somewhere right in here along this wall.
Okay, and just for the record, it looks like you're pointing to the north wall of that shop.
Yes, that would be the north wall. Right along here is where that would be.
Okay, and what items are kept over there?
The welders, the plasma cutters, toolbox.
Okay, and that photograph was from April 27th, 2021. Were those kept in those same condition the entire time you had worked there? Were those kept in that same
Yes.
spot? Okay. People's Exhibit 151,
Yes,
and what is that?
that is the back storage part of the shop, the old shop.
Okay. And again, that photograph was taken April 27th, 2021. Exhibit 152.
Also of the back shop.
Okay. So if I just looked at, so I'm looking at the further left corner of this photograph. Is that the ramp we just saw in the last picture?
That is correct.
Okay. I'm going to show you People's 153. What are these items up here? This is a zoomed-in photograph of 152.
Those were mostly spare parts that we had laying around. We kept hitch pins, tow hooks for the back of trucks, chains, some consumables, a generator, a portable welder, stuff like that back there.
Okay, if I'm looking at that end cap, there's two end caps in the photograph. If I'm looking at the one to the left, what items are kept up there?
Hooks and hitch pins,
Okay.
steel hooks and hitch pins.
I'm going to show you People's Exhibit 154. And where am I at now?
You would be standing at the top of the ramp at the end of the toolbox. That would be this. You'd be standing about right here, just above the ramp.
What are these items? These, it looks like tanks. What are those?
Those are oxygen, acetylene, and argon bottles of gas. They're used for welding and cutting with torches.
Okay. I'm going to show you People's Exhibit 155. And is that directly, where is this located at?
That is located in the picture that you showed before, along the north wall of the shop where the welders and the plasma cutters were kept.
Okay, and what is this item that is red on the left?
That is a welder.
The red one?
Yes,
Okay, what's the blue one to the left of that?
that is also a welder.
What are the yellow tanks?
That'd be shielding gas, the argon gas that we use to shield with. That helps shield the weld while it's cooling, while it's being applied.
All right, I'm going to zoom in and do you recognize, maybe I'm going to zoom in. Do you recognize what those are?
Those are protective gloves that we would use for welding or torching.
I'm going to show you People's Exhibit 156. Where is this located at?
That is just left of the last picture on the north wall of the shop next to the toolbox.
What's this? Did it zoom in? Okay.
That would be a welding helmet.
I'm going to show you People's Exhibit 157. Do you recognize that item?
Yes.
Okay, what is it?
It's a forklift.
How many forklifts were on the farm, to the best of your knowledge?
We had two.
What would you use it for?
We would generally use it for moving anhydrous tanks around. We'd use them for moving pallets of stuff, like in that picture there, the power washer there on the pallet. We would move that out to where we would power wash. Anything that needed lifted or moved around that was too heavy to handle by hand.
I'm going to show you people's Exhibit 158. Now that's a zoomed-in photograph of the forks.
Yes.
Can you explain the forks to me?
Both of the forks had holes cut in them so that we could, it was easier to fasten things to the end of them. You could take, on the front of wagon tongue, for instance, you could put it over the tongue and drop a pin through it. It made handling and lifting things easier.
Okay. And I'm going to zoom in it a little bit if that's easier to see. So at the very ends of those forks, are those the holes you were talking about?
Yes.
All right. And did you ever use a chain or anything with those holes?
Yes.
For what?
Just basically as a safe point to lift, in order to, you could either put a bolt in it to keep a chain from coming off the end and, dropping whatever you were trying to lift, or you could put a pennel in there and be able to loop your chain through it. It just made for safer handling.
Would you typically work on Sundays?
Depending on the time of year, yes. Sundays were usually the day off, but
Okay.
in the and planting and harvest, it really didn't matter.
All right. Were you working on April 25th, 21 at the Munger Farm?
I was working on a personal vehicle of mine.
Okay. So were you supposed to show up for work that day?
I was not.
What did you have to work on your truck?
I believe I was doing radiator hoses.
Did anybody go with you?
My little brother came to help me.
How old was your little brother?
He's 4 years younger than me. So at the time, he would have been about 20.
I just wanted to make sure I'm talking about like a 5-year-old or something.
No.
When you got to the farm, do you recall approximately what time it was?
Mid to late morning, I believe.
Did you see anybody else on the farm when you got there?
I don't remember seeing anyone right away. I don't remember how long it was, but the first person that I remember seeing was Dale.
Do you remember approximately what time that was?
Maybe 10, 11 o'clock, somewhere in there.
Do you remember where you saw him at?
He came out to the shop, the old shop.
And is that where you were?
That was where I was working on my personal vehicle.
Did you end up working in the old shop all day, or did you go between buildings?
I predominantly worked in the old shop all day.
How many times throughout the day, if you recall, did you see Dale?
Maybe 3 or 4.
Was it always at the old shop or any other locations?
I believe it was. To the best of my knowledge, it was only up in the old shop. I was there most of the day.
Did you have the opportunity to view some surveillance footage in this case?
Yes.
Okay. And you originally watched a lengthy bit of surveillance footage. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to show you some surveillance footage from the farm from April 25th, and I'm going to stop and have a couple of questions here and there for you, okay?
Okay.
Probably going to play this for you. Okay, this is 4:25, approximately 6:58 a.m. And do you recognize the person in that, is that the JCB?
Yes,
Okay, do you recognize that person?
yes.
How?
You can tell by the name tag, the posture, the hairline, that is Dale in the JCB.
Okay. Did you think that this photo, or this original image was strange to you at first?
Yes.
Objection as to relevance.
Well, let me rephrase the question. I'll withdraw that question and I'll ask another.
It allows us to move to strike the response.
Okay, so the answer will be stricken and the jury directed not to consider that response.
Did you notice anything different about Mr. Warner at this time?
Yes.
And what's that?
He's not wearing a hat.
Why is that different to you?
Because we all wore hats. I count on one hand the times I've seen Dale out of the house without a hat.
That's approximately 7:13 a.m. Can you show me on this map that's still in front of you where I'm looking on this footage? Where am I at?
The point of view is from this end of barn 6, which would have been the office. This tree here that is partially obstructing the view of that camera is this tree right here, and that viewpoint is looking out towards this barn out here. You're basically looking almost straight at the corner of this building, number 7 here.
Okay. And this is 7:23 a.m. Okay. Well, let me go just a little bit further. All right. Can you identify again which direction on the map, where we're at on the map?
Yes, that is placed in the same location. This red mark here on the map is the farm scale, and the end of that is what you are looking at right there. So that JCB is traveling this way around the front corner of that barn.
Okay. So just for clarification, if I'm looking at the tree just to the right of it, I see a little bit of red.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that the scale that you were just referring
Yes.
to? Okay. Okay, approximately 7:30 a.m. And would that be coming from the opposite direction that, so before you said he was going towards the front of the office, so would that be coming from the front of the office?
Yes.
And the direction, again, is that going back to the spray barn?
Yes.
And you watched this footage, again, a couple of times, is that correct?
Yes.
And the person on the fork, is this a fork truck in the
Yes.
video? Did you recognize that person?
Yes.
How?
It was posture, glasses. It's Dale in the picture on the forklift.
Okay. Okay, again, we're looking at 740. And again, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but based on what you testified to earlier, does that appear as he's going back to the spray barn again at 742?
That is correct.
Okay, we're looking at approximately 11:18 a.m. Do you recognize this, I'm going to call it a vehicle that's in the photograph?
Yes,
What is that?
that is the sprayer.
Is that the sprayer that you kind of described to us earlier with the
Yes,
farming?
that is correct.
All right. All right, now we're at about 12:43 p.m. on the 25th. Where am I at?
You are sitting, that view is facing out the driveway, so the view is from basically the center of the barn facing forward.
All right. And is this where you were working on your vehicle?
That is correct.
Are you in this video?
Yes.
All right, and who's in this video with you?
The individual standing next to the truck is my little brother.
Okay. You can kind of see some legs and some dogs. Do you remember who that was that came in there?
That was Dale.
I know it's about, a couple years later. Do you remember any conversation that you had with him that day?
I don't really. The only conversation that I remember from that day was when he came out to tell me that he thought Dee had left.
Okay. Was that one of the first times that you had interaction with him that day?
Yes.
All right, now we're looking at 12:51. Where am I at?
You are directly above the walk door in the front of barn 1 here, and you're looking just kind of straight down right in this general area in this corner right here.
Did you observe the vehicle that drove into this building?
Yes,
You talked about the two different Kubotas. Which Kubota would this one be?
that would have been Dale's.
We can only see a half of a body here. Do you recognize the body?
Yes.
Based on what?
Clothing, posture, that's Dale.
Again, just a different angle of the Kubota coming into the old shop.
Yes. You can tell that's Dale's because it has the doors open. The other Kubota did not have doors.
Thank you. All right, 12:51 and 50 seconds. Again, where am I at where am I at?
You are sitting in, or you are looking down from the center of the shop, the camera that was in the center here, and you are looking towards the south wall.
Is this your truck here?
No, that is the farm's truck.
Okay. Were you able to tell who that person was in that clip?
That is Dale.
And how did you recognize him?
Posture, clothing, mannerisms.
Okay, 12:52. Same thing going back to the Kubota?
Yes.
We have about 12:53. And what direction?
He's heading back towards the spray barn.
Okay, in the Kubota still?
That is correct.
$12:59. There's a vehicle that pulls in. Do you recognize that vehicle?
That appears to be Jaren's truck.
Okay. And what makes you believe that was Jaren's truck?
Jaren's truck's GMC in black. That was the only one that we had, or that the farm that came to the farm. You can also tell there's chrome underneath the there's chrome moldings underneath the driver and underneath the windows.
Okay. And within a matter of seconds, we see what do you see here?
That is Dale's Kubota heading back around the front of the barn.
Okay. And this is 1:13 p.m. Where am I on this map?
The Kubota is coming, he's come down the ramp here, and it is heading back this way. That's this lighter section here is the cement pad that you see in the picture there, and he is heading east towards barn 2.
One 1:14 p.m.
Dale's Kubota headed back.
Same spot. Okay. Now I'm at 1:14 and 37 seconds. Where am I at? I keep asking where I'm at. Obviously, it's not me. Can you identify where we're at?
Yes.
Thank you.
You are looking, you're sitting about right here in the back in the storage shop. The photos that we looked at that you showed me before here of the storage area in the back of the old shop.
Okay. Again, we see the back of a person. Are you familiar with who that is?
Yes, that's Dale.
Okay, this is 1:15 p.m. Where am I at now?
You are sitting in about the same spot, but you are looking out the back. So there is, in this back part of the shop, there is, that overhead door is on this wall here, pointing this way. So you're sitting about right here looking back
Okay.
towards the north.
Okay. Okay, now we're at 1:15 and 23 seconds. Is that the same person?
Yes.
Okay, now we're at 1:26 p.m.
That is Dale's Kubota heading back around the front part of the office, heading back towards the spray barn.
Okay, now we're at 1:46 p.m.
Be the sprayer.
Tree limbs are awful, huh? The tree branches.
Yes, they are.
Okay, we're at 1:48 p.m. What's that?
That is the sprayer.
Okay, how is that, what direction is that heading out on this map?
That would be pulling along around the outside of the scale and heading this way towards the road, and it appears that it pulls up and around and is then facing back east in front of the shop. Or I'm sorry, in front of the office.
So this is 2:18 p.m. Do you see all the way in the right corner of this photograph?
Yes.
What is that?
That is the sprayer.
How do you know that?
The distance between the bottom of the hood and the ground, the spray booms that are sticking out in front. We didn't have any other equipment that matches that description.
Okay, we're at 2:41 p.m. And do you see the spray? Oh, do you see the sprayer?
Yes.
Okay. Where's that parked on this map?
That is parked about right here. Somewhere right in the middle of this driveway pointing north.
Okay. Where would that sprayer typically be parked when coming back to the farm, if you know?
If it wasn't being parked back into the spray barn, it would be lined up in this orientation, the same as these vehicles here along this row and this gravel next to the driveway.
Okay. Okay, now we're at 2:46. Again, where am I at?
You are sitting on, that viewpoint is from here looking back. These three tanks that you see here are the three tanks that are in the picture. Dale's Kubota is over here, and the semi that's pulling around here is sitting somewhere right in here.
And what's this item at 2:49?
That is the versatile tractor.
What is the versatile tractor?
Versatile tractor was primarily used to pull the corn planter on the farm.
Do you know who typically drove that planter?
That would be Dale.
So again, at 251. Are we back by the scales?
Yes.
Okay, now we're at 3 p.m. Approximately 3:01. I apologize. Do you recognize that person walking?
That is Dale.
And where's that at on the farm?
That he is walking in this little area right here towards the scale in this way around the corner of the office.
We're looking at 3:12 p.m. Where am I at now?
You are in the new shop, and you would be this ramp here came out the east side of the barn. You're sitting about right here, looking this way, out towards the east.
What's this item being pulled out of the new? What building is this? First off.
That is the new shop.
Okay. And what's this
building
item?
number 5 on your.
Okay. What's this item being pulled out of there?
That is the corn planter.
Okay, we're at 3:13 p.m. approximately.
It's a same piece of equipment, better view, coming around the front part of the office there, around the corner, heading west.
I'm sorry, I can't hear
I'm
you.
sorry. That's better view of the versatile pulling the corn planter
Okay.
around the front corner of the office.
Okay. And now we're at 3:17 p.m.
Yes.
First, show me where I'm at on this.
That semi truck is sitting in this orientation. The front of it is about right here. You're looking down the side of this barn, right here, where that little line right there. That's where that cement is stopping in that photo there.
Okay. And is that a Kubota in this frame?
Yes.
And which Kubota would that be?
That would be Dale's.
Now we're at 3:18 p.m.
That'd be Dale's Kubota.
Three 3:21 p.m.
It's the same machine.
3:41 p.m. And again, is that the area you just showed us on the
Yes.
side of the new shop?
That is correct.
Is that also the front of that? I can't remember what you called the planter, but whatever pulled the planter.
That would be the. Are you referring to the east end of the fertilizer barn here?
No, I'm talking about the piece of equipment, the red piece of equipment.
Yes. That is the front of the versatile tractor. Yes.
Okay. Now we're at 4:29 p.m. And do you recognize whose vehicles those are?
The vehicle down closer to the bottom right corner of the screen is Dale's Kubota. The pickup truck pulling out of there is Todd Nierick's pickup truck.
Did you see Todd Nierick on the property on the 25th?
I don't remember now.
Now we're at 432. What am I looking at?
You are looking in that out of that same camera, on the back side of the old shop, looking out this way, and that is the JCB.
Okay, do you recognize the person that's in there?
It appears to be Dale Warner.
Okay, now we're looking at 4:37 p.m. $4:39 p.m. All right. Now we're at 4:52 p.m.
Yes.
Where am I at?
You are in the old shop in the center, and you are looking down into this corner here where the welding equipment was kept.
And do you recognize this person?
Yes,
Okay. And who is that?
that appears to be Dale.
And is that because you've watched the surveillance footage again? You've gone over it?
Yes.
Okay.
And that day, he was the only one that would have been on the farm with uniform shirt on like that. Everybody else was in either sweatshirts or their own personal clothes.
Okay. What, are you familiar with the item that the defendants leaned down in front of?
Yes,
And what is that item?
that appears to be a welder.
Okay. Is there, I'm not familiar with welders, I don't weld. Is there something on the bottom of welders?
Yes.
What?
So down in that front section there on a welder, there's a little flip down. It's kind of like a book. Shows you the different thicknesses, where to set the welder for different materials, thicknesses, so that you can properly weld.
$453, what's that red item?
The one against the wall there is a welder.
Okay. 455. Again, where am I at? Just remind me.
You're sitting above the walk door in the front of the shop here, and it appears as though Mr. Warner's walking out the front overhead door.
Okay, and if I didn't already say it, it's 4:56 p.m. at that time? $4:56 and 30 seconds approximately. $4:56 and 44 seconds. Again, did you watch this a couple of times?
Yes.
And were you able to identify the item in Mr. Warner's hand? or not in the video,
What's that?
or not in the video. It's okay if you can't identify it in the video. Okay. .504. What's that vehicle?
That is Dale's Kubota.
Okay. 505. Remind me where I'm at.
You were in the back of the shop in the parts room, about right here, and you just walked in that door, right here.
You recognize that person?
Yes,
Okay, who's that?
it is Dale.
5:06 p.m. Is that again Dale?
Yes,
And it appears to me he's walking down the ramp. Is that accurate?
yes.
And were you able to identify the items in his hand?
It appears as though he's carrying the welding mask and the gloves.
Okay, 5:07. Okay. 6:06. See a little bit of movement in there? Okay. Okay, 6:08. JCB again?
Yes,
6:10. Did you see which direction the JCB was going?
it appears to be going towards the spray barn.
Okay, 6:26. Who's this?
That is my pickup.
Okay. So at some point on the 25th, did you leave the farm?
Yes.
And for what?
I replaced the radiator hoses and I drove to the gas station on the corner to make sure that I didn't have any leaks and to get it warm.
Okay. So is this when you're arriving back to the property?
Yes.
And it looks like you are driving now towards the spray barn.
I did. It was,
And then at 6:37, it appears that you're leaving. Do you
Yes.
remember seeing Dale at the spray barn that day?
I do not.
Okay, there's 6:39, the JCB again. JCB, could you tell what direction that it was heading at 6:40 p.m.?
It appears as though it's headed towards the spray barn.
All right, at 6:41. Were you able to, after watching that, determine what that was that went by?
Yes.
And what was that?
That was the JCB.
Okay, and did you recognize anything in the bucket?
Yes.
How?
By the shape and the color.
Okay, and what'd you recognize?
A welder.
Okay, and describe what you meant by the shape and color.
So most of our bottles were yellow. At least the ones we used for welding, that was the color for that particular shielding gas. And all of our MIG welders were blue Millers.
Okay, 6:43. Where am I at?
You are in the new shop looking out of the same camera that we watched the Versatile leave earlier, about right here, and you are looking towards the east.
And right about in the middle of that footage, do you see the blue and yellow item that you were referring to?
Yes,
Okay, and what is that?
that is a welder.
Okay. I need to figure out how to switch back to the photographs. How often during, I don't want that one. How often while you were worked there did you go to the spray barn for anything?
Depended on the time of the year.
Okay. And what would you need to go back there for?
Either to load customers with chemicals, load a tank with fertilizer for customers, things of that nature.
I'm going to show you People's Exhibit 84. Do you recognize that item under the camouflage blanket up there?
Yes,
What is that?
that is a safe.
And had you known that safe to be in there prior to April 25th, 2021?
Yes,
Do you know how long it was in there?
at least 6 months to a year, if I remember right.
All right. During the 4 years that you had worked on the farm, had you ever seen a tank an anhydrous tank inside the spray barn?
No,
I'm going to show you People's Exhibit 85. Do you see a tank in the spray barn right there?
yes,
And would that not have been common then?
no,
Do you know if that spray barn had a lock on the door?
I believe it did, yes.
I'm going to show you People's Exhibit 178. Do you recognize that area?
Yes.
Where am I at?
You are standing, I'm too sure. The cement pad here is the overhead door. Next to the overhead door, there's a walk door, which you see in the picture. So you are standing about right there and looking in this direction towards the west.
Okay. And would that be the door on that spray barn then?
Yes.
For clarification, can you, so the spray barn, you just talked about the south side of it, correct?
Yes.
On the north end of that, was there another way to get in?
Yes.
And how was that?
There's an overhead door.
There's it's a straight through building. There, you drive through this side of the barn here, and you can come out the back side and back out around the drive.
Okay. Did you ever work with the anhydrous tanks on the property?
Yes.
And where were they stored at?
Typically, they were stored along the driveway behind the fertilizer barn.
Show me on the map.
Typically, they were stored right along here when we had them at the farm. In season and out of season, they would be stored at two different properties.
The Paragon Road Farm and the Carson Road Farm.
Okay. Now I'm going to have you flip to the, Mr. Lee, can you flip to the next map for me. 264. Did you say the Carson Farm or the Carson Barn?
The Carson Road Farm.
Okay, and where's that at in relation? So show me first the Munger Farm.
This here's the Munger Farm, the main home farm.
All right, and where was the Carson property?
That would be this one right here.
All right, and where's the barn you're talking about?
It would be, there was this barn out back here that would have a few of them in the backside back here, and then there was the front barn that didn't usually hold any anhydrous tanks.
And then you indicated the other property where you guys stored tanks was?
Yes, the Paragon Road Farm.
Okay. Mr. Lee, thank you for your help. All right, I know this is a bigger, more stretched out map, but can you find the Munger Farm on this map?
I believe that the Munger Farm is up here, which would be the home farm up here.
All right, I'm gonna have you wait to turn to me before you talk, because I can't, you're soft spoken, I can't hear.
This is the Munger Farm up here.
The home farm.
Okay, and the Paragon property we're talking about where some extra tanks would be stored, where's that at?
That would be down here.
And do you know approximately how far away it is?
Mile, maybe mile and a half. Around the corner and down the street.
Okay. You discussed the anhydrous tanks that were lined up. Can you put the first map back up, please? So the anhydrous tanks that you discussed that were lined up right there on the north side of the property,
Yes.
are those full tanks, empty tanks? What are those?
Those were generally full tanks.
Okay, and were you storing full tanks or empty tanks at the Carson property?
Usually empty.
Okay, what about Paragon?
That would usually be a mix. Whatever we had that was filled, also go over there.
Okay. Were you ever part of the filling of the anhydrous tanks?
Yes.
And how did that, how do you fill a tank?
There are two hoses, one for gas and one for liquid.
So you would you take the forklift out there, and generally, if a customer brought the tank back empty, they would just drop it up here in this area, and you'd scale it back in on the scale. And then these are the mother bottles. That's what we filled the tanks out of. If our driver had brought them back, he'd just bring them back and line them up around here.
So you would connect both the hoses and make sure that your bleeders were closed. And then you would open your valves and start the pump, fill it until the level gauge was up to a certain, usually about 80%. You had to allow room for expansion in the heat. And then you would shut it off and use your bleeder valves to clear the section in the line that you connected it to the tank. And then after that, you could take your lines back off the top of the tank.
You mentioned people would bring tanks and drop them off back by the mother tanks. Is that what you said?
That would be the driver. If he brought them back and scaled them back in, they could be taken back to be directly filled again.
Okay, so the ones that are being brought back there are the empties that need to be filled.
Yes.
Okay, and what did you do after you filled them?
Once they were filled,
They got parked back in this line along the north end of the farm.
Okay, was there anywhere else that those tanks were parked if they were full?
Usually, we had 4 larger tanks for the farm. Those were ours. Those, to the best of my knowledge, never went out to anybody. They were larger. They were more dangerous to pull down the road. They were heavier. They stored more. Those would be parked where I pointed right there. Those 4 tanks there. Those were the farm's tanks. But other than that, that was not usually. There wasn't usually any other place that they were parked. No.
I'm going to show you People's Exhibit 161. And do you recognize that?
Yes.
What is that?
That is the back of the Carson Road Farm.
Okay, and so that would have been to the north, the one that you just showed us to the northeast? Okay.
Yes.
And this is People's 162. What are those?
Those are anhydrous tanks.
And People's 163?
Again, anhydrous tanks.
And the previous one I just showed you, was that at the Carson property?
Yes.
What about this one?
This is also the Carson property.
Okay. People's 164?
There's 1 liquid fertilizer tank and more anhydrous tanks in that barn there.
Okay.
That appears to be the same barn.
When you say 1 liquid fertilizer, I'm going to assume it's the only one that looks different from the other 3.
Yes, it would be the blue one with the orange frame.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to have you look at Exhibit 165. Is that also on Carson?
Yes.
All right, and what are these?
Those are anhydrous tanks.
Do you know the sizes? Are there different sizes of tanks?
Yes. We had several different sizes.
Okay.
They were different shaped. Some of them were tall, shaped more like a barrel. Others looked more like a propane tank, but they all served the same function.
And were you shown a handful of photographs of tanks that were found on the Paragon Road property?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to show you People's Exhibit 90. Is that one of the tanks from Paragon Road?
Yes.
So I want to look at the design of these. Tell me about the front end of that anhydrous tank.
The front end of that tank there has your valves where you would hook up to fill it. That would be the 2 smaller ones closer to the back of the tank, or to the left in that picture. There is the larger valve in the front is where you would hook on to empty the tank. They're protected by a steel cage in case you had it come off of the truck. That protected the valves from being knocked off and emptying the tank in public. And then towards the back of the tank there, that little white piece that sticks up, that's protecting a relief valve.
I'm going to... Oh, I can't do that. So the very back of that photograph, I was going to
Yes.
try to use the laser, but I can't, it's not working. So that is a cover for what?
That is a relief valve.
Okay.
Under pressure and heat, when it gets warmer out, it expands and it causes pressure in the tank. If the tank is overfilled, that relief valve will pop and keep it from turning into basically a giant bomb.
Okay. I'm going to show you People's Exhibit 92. Is this a smaller version of the anhydrous tanks we've been looking at?
Yes.
Okay. And again, we see the
Yes.
Okay. The back end with the... Describe it for me again.
The relief valve. You're not actually looking at the relief valve in that picture. You're looking at a pipe that's welded onto the top of the tank to protect that relief valve. For the same reason, there's a cage over the valves on the front.
Okay, and that's what you were looking at in the last photograph too,
Yes.
correct? All right. And are most of the anhydrous tanks... Well, let me ask you this. Have you dealt with the anhydrous tanks the whole time you worked at the Warner farm?
I believe I started filling them, and I think it was my second year there.
Okay, did you deal with them in some sort of capacity while you worked there then?
Yes.
Would this be the, I'm back to Exhibit 90, this valve on the back, the cover that protects it, would that be typically the way that they're designed?
That was standard for all the tanks that I remember us having, yes.
Okay. And you were shown a photograph of People's Exhibit 100, Tank 34, is that accurate?
Yes.
And, well, let's first describe the front of that tank for me.
The front of the tank still has a cage over the valves there. That is, it's fairly standard. That is shaped a little bit more like a propane tank.
What do you mean?
So we did have tanks that were shaped like that. If I remember right, we had three basic kinds. We had the big ones. There was 2 front loads, and 2 top loads, and then we also we had some taller ones that were more barrel shaped. We also had some more that were more torpedo shaped, a little smaller in diameter, a little longer in length.
Okay. Have you, so let's look at the back of this Tank 34. And can you describe the back of that for me?
It appears as though it has a different cover over the relief valves.
And have you seen a cover like that on the anhydrous tanks that you've come into contact with over the years?
I did not remember having a cover on any of our tanks like that.
And we'll take a 5-minute recess here and come back and continue with testimony. So we'll stay there for a moment, Mr. Boyd. Yes, sir. Okay, you can step down there.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll be back in about 5 minutes.
The Honorable Michael Saber presiding. May we see that?
Okay, are we ready for the jury?
Well, yes. Do you want to witness on the stand first?
Oh, yes. So, Ms. Boyd, if you come back and sit in the, at the witness stand. You may.
A few more questions for you, Mr. Boyd. I'm going to show you some still images from the surveillance footage that we watched to see if you identified any of the items. I'm going to show you People's Exhibit 38. First off, we only see a half of a body. Do you recognize that person?
It appears to be Dale.
Okay, and that was based on also watching the surveillance footage?
Yes.
All right, and what does it appear he's carrying?
He has grinding discs and a corded grinder.
I'm going to show you People's Exhibit 43. We saw it in the video, the surveillance footage. This is going to be approximately 1:15 p.m. Did you see the item that was taken from that surveillance?
From the back wall there,
Yes.
that would be a chain.
Okay. I'm going to show you People's Exhibit 44. This is at 3:12 p.m. This is the new shop, correct?
Yes.
All right, and I'm just going to zoom in here to, you see this big green
Toolbox. yes.
toolbox? Okay, what is directly to the left of that?
That would be a welder.
And is that because, what do you recognize in there?
So you can see the stinger or the lead that's on the front of it. You can see the color and the shielding gas bottle on the back of it.
I'm going to show you People's Exhibit 50 that I asked you in the surveillance footage if you recognize that item. Here's a still image of that. First, do you recognize the bottom half of that body?
Yes.
And who is that?
That is Dale.
Okay. Now can you tell what that item is in his hand?
It appears that he has grinding or cutting discs of some kind in his hand.
I'm going to take you back to Exhibit, I'm going to take you to Exhibit 56. Again, this is the new shop, 6:43 p.m. on the 25th. I'm going to zoom into the green toolbox. I'm calling that a toolbox. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
Okay. And the item that you described as a welder that was sitting to the left of the toolbox, is that item there any longer?
It is not next to the toolbox. It's sitting in front of the toolbox, and you're viewing the side of it instead of the front of it.
All right. And is that the item that you identified as being in the
Yes.
front of the JCB? Okay. And we see the back of somebody walking away. Do you
Yes.
recognize that person?
It appears to be Dale.
During the course of your employment for the Warners, did Dale ever have to write you any notes or leave you any instructions or do anything that you had to read his handwriting?
From time to time, in the fall, we would take grain tickets. Also, if he happened to be the one that scaled out an anhydrous tank, either for himself or the farm, we would still weigh it and keep track of it. So yes, I've seen his handwriting. Yes.
Okay. And I showed you certain exhibits that were certain handwriting examples, correct?
Yes.
I don't want to say examples, certain notebook pages or loose leaf papers. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay, and those were items that were taken from the farm in October of 2021. And did you observe, well, let me approach the witness, Your Honor. I've got exhibits 179 through 190, and we haven't stipulated to something, so I'm not Can you just look through those and don't tell me what they are? For the record, Your Honor, Mr. Boyd has People's Exhibits 179 through 190 that he's reviewing. Are you done?
Yes.
Okay, and those items were some lined papers with writing on them and some loose leaf blank papers with writing on them. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
And some of them appear to be screenshots of map locations. Is that also accurate?
That is correct.
And there was handwriting on those documents. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Did you recognize the handwriting?
Yes, it appears to, yes.
And whose handwriting is that?
That appears to be Mr. Warner's.
Okay. I'm going to also hand you People's Exhibits 191, 192, and 193, and have you look at them. I'm going to stop you real quick, Mr. Boyd. 191
Just that one?
have you had the opportunity to look at that before?
Yes.
Okay, describe the front page for me. What is that?
Notebooks.
Okay, and what type of notebook? What color is it?
The top one is black.
All right, and then when you flip through the pages, do the contents have handwriting in them?
Yes.
Okay, and are you familiar with that handwriting?
Yes.
And whose handwriting is that?
It appears to be Dale's.
Okay. 192, can you tell me what the front page of that item is?
It's a black notebook.
Okay, a different black notebook than the first one?
It appears, yes. Yes, it appears to be a different black notebook.
All right, and can you kind of flip through the pages on that one? And you've looked at that before?
Yes.
And do you recognize that handwriting?
Yes.
And whose handwriting is that?
It's Dale's.
I'm going to have you look at Exhibit 193. And what's the front of that look like?
It's a notebook,
Okay, color?
pink.
Okay, can I have you flip through that? And you looked at that previously?
Yes.
And do you recognize the writing?
Yes.
And whose handwriting is that?
It appears to be Dale's.
I have no additional questions for Mr. Boyd at this time.
Okay, it is close to noon, so we are going to be breaking for lunch. We'll resume at 1:30 p.m. again. Before you go, I will just remind you that during the trial, don't read, listen to, or watch any news reports about the case. Under the law, the evidence you consider to decide the case must meet certain standards. For example, witnesses must swear to tell the truth, and lawyers must be able to cross-examine them. Because news reports do not have to meet these standards, they could give you incorrect or misleading information that might unfairly favor one side. So to be fair to both sides, you must follow this instruction. Thank you, and we'll see you at 1:30. Accumulating some questions from jurors. I don't know if you want to review those now or wait until the testimony is completed. Whichever you want to do is fine.
Maybe until the testimony is completed. I agree.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, you may, right now.
Circuit Court is in session. The Honorable Michael Sager presiding. May be seated.
All right, we are back on the record in file 24-21841-FC. Is there anything we need to address before we bring the jurors back?
Not right at this moment, Your Honor.
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, we're ready. Is Mr. Boyd here? We can have him come back to the witness stand. If you want to just hold him off at the door until Mr. Boyd gets in the witness chair.
Hold up.
I don't know who is connected right now, but I need to restart our Polycom because it's going to time out at some point this afternoon if I don't restart the call.
Hold up, hold on. I know what I said.
You are in the meeting now.
You may be seated.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are ready to resume. Mr. Boyd, I will just remind you that you are still under oath.
Good afternoon, Mr. Boyd. My name is Mary Chartier. I represent Mr. Warner. Congratulations on your engagement.
Thank
I want to start off with that. And then I also want to start off with the work that you did on the Warner property. So you said you worked there for roughly 4 years.
That's correct.
Did you work there full-time or was it part-time?
I was more than full time.
So if we looked at a week, would it change because you talked about planting season, harvesting season,
No less than 70, 80 hours a week.
all year long?
Yes,
Oh, that is a lot.
That's
okay. And is that 5 days a week, 7 days a week?
6 off season, 5.5 somewhere in there, 5.5 to 6 off season, and pretty much 7 days a week in spring planting and fall harvest.
So if we're talking about April 25th, 2021, that's a Sunday. Is that in one of the planting or harvesting? I assume it's not harvesting. But
We were starting to get into planting season where we were getting things ready and filling tanks and getting fertilizer applied.
could you come onto the property when you needed to work, or, for example, you were working on your personal truck on that
Yes.
Sunday, correct?
That is correct.
Were there any sort of restrictions on when you could enter?
No.
And when you did that work, how closely were you working with Mr. Warner? So if you were working 70 to 80 hours a week, roughly what percentage are you working sort of side by side with him?
Less than 10% of the time, I would say.
So fair to say you don't know what he's doing in terms of personal knowledge when you're not with him.
No.
Now, during your time working with Mr. Warner, how often did you hear him get angry?
I can once I heard him yell. That is all in 4 years.
And was that with an employee on the farm?
That is correct.
And was that someone who had done something
They
wrong?
absolutely deserved it, yes.
They deserved it. Did Mr. Warner then apologize after yelling at a later on in the day?
Yes.
Would you describe Mr. Warner as being laid back?
Yes.
Would you describe him as someone who doesn't fly off the handle?
I would describe him as yes, someone who doesn't fly off the handle, who has most everything calculated out, yes.
And someone who doesn't let his temper get the best of him?
That would be a fair assertion, yes.
Thank you. Now, as to your work, you talked about a number of different things you did, from driving truckloads to filling anhydrous tanks, and I want to focus on the anhydrous tanks. So if we're looking at your workload, what portion of it related to the anhydrous tanks?
It varied day to day and week to week. In the season where we were doing that, if I came back, I was done trucking. I come back in the afternoon. I got whatever field I was working or whatever I was done doing. I had mentioned Jim Hawkins. He also filled tanks. So he would fill them during the day to keep everything rolling. And then when I would get back, if we had any empties, which we usually did, I would fill them before I went home.
So you said to keep everything rolling. Are people coming to the property every day to get anhydrous tanks?
We had very few that came to the farm to get them. We had a driver that would take those tanks out to the customer's field, and then he would bring back empties with him.
So someone on the farm, so if I'm a farmer, I just want to make sure I understand, I would put in an order for an anhydrous tank,
Yes,
and then someone on the farm would deliver that tank to somebody,
that is correct.
and then they would take back an empty tank.
Yes,
And that process would continue as long as the farmer wanted that.
that's correct.
But you said there were a few people who came on the property to get their tank. Anyone in particular you can think of?
I may be slightly mistaken in that. If I remember right, the only ones that really came to get fertilizer from the farm was partridges, and they came to get liquid fertilizer, which is a different product.
What about the Hardys? Did they ever come to pick up their anhydrous tanks?
I believe that Hardee's did come, and I believe they usually filled their own tanks and weighed them.
Okay, so great, thank you for that clarification. So if I'm a farmer, you would fill the tank for me, and then it would either be delivered, or in the rare instance you said of the partridges, they would come pick it up. But the Hardys, they were able to fill up their own tank.
Yes, I believe so.
And then how would that work? So you've got that full tank of anhydrous ammonia. Was it weighed before it left the property?
Yes, that's correct.
And I think you still have that pointer up there. Would you
Yes.
point to where that scale is?
That scale is this long red rectangle right here next to the office.
And so would a truck pull up on there and put the tank on to be weighed?
Yes,
And then it gets delivered. Then when the tank comes back, is it weighed again to see
Yes.
how much product goes out?
yes,
And then that's how someone is billed?
yes, that's correct.
And so again, if I'm the driver, I'm doing that for a particular farm, but the Hardys are doing that themselves.
Yes.
Now, what about other work that you did on the tanks? Were you involved with any sort of maintenance of the tanks?
Nothing really beyond flat tires or bad wheel bearings.
What about, and the tires, are those on the sort of the runners?
Yes.
So because the tanks don't have wheels, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So what are they placed on?
They're placed on a running gear.
Okay, they're placed on running gear. So if there was a flat tire on the running gear, you would take care of
Yes.
that?
Yes.
But you weren't involved in any of the mechanics of the tank themselves?
No.
Do you know about how long those tanks are?
I would say the short ones were probably 12-ish foot, and the long ones, the big ones we had on the farm, were maybe 15 or 16.
Do you know how much they weighed?
I want to say somewhere in the neighborhood, somewhere between 6 empty and maybe 12 or 15,000 pounds loaded.
Okay, so when you say 6, you don't mean 6
6,000.
pounds. You mean
Yes.
how many pounds?
6,000.
6,000
I
pounds.
think it's somewhere in there. It's been a long time since
Oh,
I've
no, that gives us a good idea. And do you know what the tanks are made of?
steel.
Steel. Do you know how thick that steel is?
It should be probably. It's at least 1/8 to 1/4 inch steel.
Are there precautions that you take when you're working with anhydrous ammonia?
Yes.
Okay, what are those?
You want to wear gloves. You want to wear eye goggles, something to protect your eyes, and you always want to make sure that you are upwind of where you're filling.
So you're filling them outside.
Yes, that's correct.
Why do you want to be upwind?
because it will, it's dangerous. It's very cold. It'll burn your lungs.
What about, is it flammable?
I don't believe that it is flammable.
So if we look at some of the tanks, which we'll look at next week as well, are there any sort of caution signs on the tanks?
I believe that there is, there's the green placards.
And what does that tell someone if they see that?
Oh, I can't remember what the green placards are. I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. So you talked about the precautions you would take. So you would wear gloves, you would wear eye goggles, you would do this outside so you were upwind of it so you don't breathe it in. Anything else that you can think of?
I mean, not really, no.
Thank you. How many tanks do you think that you filled in the 4 years you worked there?
Oh, goodness. How many total for the farm, or how many do you think I filled in total as far as in all those years?
How about in all those years?
I would say north of 100.
And then anhydrous ammonia, is it the sort of thing where, for instance, you fill up the tank and then if it spills on the ground, you're fine with that? Or,
No.
Okay, why not?
Again, it is, I can't remember the word for it. It scars your lungs.
So
That's what it does.
it's dangerous?
It is dangerous, yes.
Do you know, does it cause any sort of like staining or anything like that?
I would assume that it would burn you quite terribly. I wore gloves. I never came into skin to skin contact with it.
Good.
Firsthand.
Like sounds like a good plan. So we talked about you worked frequently 7 days a week. On Sundays, how often would you be there?
In season, I want to say that was, I can remember having the parts for that truck for at least 3 weeks,
Okay.
and I had not had a spare moment to work on it. It was fairly regular to work on Sundays. Usually, it would be a little later, slightly later in the day. It wouldn't necessarily be 7. It would be 8, maybe by the time I got there, and then I would leave sometime in the afternoon or evening.
Now you, it sounds like you worked a lot there.
I did.
You talked about a little bit about welding on the property. How frequently did you weld?
Maybe once a month.
Once a month. And what would you weld?
Brackets. If something was broke on a truck, a mud flap, some, little stuff like that. Nothing huge. No big projects.
Ms. Saylor, would you pull up Exhibit 150, which is our page 192? So it sounds like you know a little bit about the items that you would use to weld. Is that accurate, Mr.
Yes.
Boyd? Thank
Yes.
you.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. That's all right. So while we're waiting for that to pull up, I'll ask you the question. So you talked about, you thought that Mr. Warner had an angle grinder in his hand. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And then you also referenced on the shelf you saw a plasma cutter.
Yes.
And Ms. Saylor is working on the technology issue now, but I'm going to keep asking you questions. And if you need to see the photo, I know she'll get it to work. What is it for someone who is not a welder, what does an angle grinder do?
An angle grinder is used for cleaning the surfaces for, it's basically a giant hard wheel of sandpaper that is attached to an electric motor, and that's what you use to clean paint off in order to weld. If you don't clean the paint off before you weld, you won't be able to make an electrical connection, which is how welding works, and you wouldn't be able to weld.
So an angle grinder, so if I'm looking at an item that I want to weld, well, actually, do you mind pointing out there, since we've got here the plasma grinder there?
The plasma cutter
Oh, excuse me, the plasma cutter.
is the gray the gray one there next to the blue barrel.
Can you zoom in on that, Ms. Saylor? Thank you. So that's the plasma cutter.
I believe so, yes.
Okay, great. So we'll get to that in a minute. So the angle grinder. So if I want to weld something, I would use an angle grinder to take the paint off, and then I would weld it. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And then what about a plasma cutter? What is its purpose?
Plasma cutter cuts steel.
A plasma cutter cuts steel.
Cleanly, quickly. It's basically a faster version of a cutting torch.
Thank you. Now, you referred to a load barn. Would you point that on the map for us? Or the spray barn?
The spray barn.
Okay.
Yes, that would be number 7 over here.
Did you also hear people refer to that as a load barn?
Yes.
Okay. So everyone has sort of these unique little variances in their buildings, and I just wanted to make sure. So 7 is the spray barn, but it's also referred to as the load barn.
Yes.
Is that accurate? And then you indicated that tanks would be stored at the Carson property, the Paragon property, and on the Munger property. Is that correct?
Yes.
It sounds like every day there are tanks sort of being moved around on the property. Is that accurate?
Depending on the weather, yes.
And then more than one tank at times?
Yes.
When I listened to your testimony and you were identifying the surveillance videos and things that you watched and where you thought you saw Mr. Warner, I had that you saw him, correct me if I'm wrong, on the Kubota, which is the smaller sort of ATV vehicle, right?
Yes.
The JCB,
Yes.
which is the one with the scoop. The sprayer, that's the green one.
That's correct.
The tractor with the corn planter, that's the red one.
Yes.
And then the forklift, that has those 2 little prongs sticking
Yes.
out, right? Did I miss anything else?
No, but I would like to add that I don't believe that I identified Mr. Warner in the Versatile, although that is a tractor that he almost exclusively was the only one that used.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that clarification. So you saw that, but you didn't identify him as driving
I
it.
did not see him identify him in the tractor.
Thank you. Now, anything else about your work that you think is significant that I have not asked you about?
I don't believe so.
Okay, terrific. I want to get to Sunday, April 25th, 2021. You said you got there in the morning. I know we're going back a number of years, so roughly maybe 10 a.m., 11 a.m.?
Somewhere in there,
Somewhere.
yes.
And you came, did your brother come with you?
No, he drove separately.
He drove separately. Now, at some point, Mr. Warner comes out and chats with you, correct?
Yes.
And he lets you know that Ms. Warner is missing.
Yes.
And he also says that he was concerned that she was missing, correct?
That is correct.
You, excuse me, when you were on the property, you just went on the property. You didn't like go and tell him, hi, I'm here or anything like that, correct?
No.
You just went to work on your truck.
That's correct.
And he didn't know your brother was coming either, correct?
I don't believe so, no.
That day, is it fair to say that everyone was in and out of there all the time?
Yes.
And a couple of drivers came in to get trucks. There were just people coming and going.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. No one told you you need to leave or anything like that, correct?
No.
At some point in time, you go to the load barn, which is the spray barn. That's number 7, right?
Yes.
And you are down there for roughly 13 minutes?
Yes.
And at that point, you're speaking with Mr. Warner, correct?
I don't remember.
Would listening to your interview help you remember?
Possibly, but I don't remember that from. There was many times that I would go down to that barn over 40. I couldn't pick out.
No, and I get that. We are in 2026. I am asking you something almost 5 years ago, in April of 2021. I can let you listen to your interview if you would like. But do you dispute that you went down to the load barn and
No.
chatted with him?
No.
And that you assisted him with putting trash in the bucket of the JCB?
I wouldn't, I wouldn't have I can't find the word for that. But I wouldn't contest that. No.
Right. And so I think you know, I've got the interview that you gave to the police. And so you're not contesting that that's you on the interview saying that, correct?
No.
Thank you. And again, if you want to listen to it, you certainly can. And then on that day, the entire day you were there, you don't remember seeing Mr. Warner with a tank at all, correct?
I do not. No.
And you don't remember seeing Mr. Warner doing anything with the tank, correct?
I do not.
On that day, April 25th, 2021, that Sunday, you did not see anything out of the ordinary on the Munger property, correct?
No.
Correct. Yes, sir?
Yes, that's correct. I did not see anything out of the ordinary. To be fair, I wasn't looking for anything out of the ordinary. It was just another day.
Just another day. Great. Thank you, sir.
Oh, did you already unhook it? Oh, he just unhooked it. I believe you discussed in 2021 anhydrous tanks would be delivered to other farms. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And who would do those deliveries?
Levi.
Who?
What's Levi's last name? Levi Sealer. Leroy. Levi. Mr. Sealer.
Okay. And did anybody else, to your knowledge, move those tanks? Deliver the tanks? I apologize.
I would on occasion if he wasn't there. We had enough orders for me to do so.
Okay. Do you know if Jim Hawkins delivered those too?
I would assume that if I wasn't there, yes.
Okay,
I
but
don't
you don't
know for a
sure.
fact.
Okay,
No.
all right. And did you ever see Dale moving tanks around the farm?
Very rarely, unless he was hooking up to go to the field with our own tanks to apply on our own ground.
Okay. Is that something he would typically say, hey, I need you to go do this to an employee?
Usually, I'm gonna go. For instance, I'm gonna go up and I'm gonna apply on the Point property. Can you bring 2 or 3 tanks up there, and then I should be good.
Okay. And I believe you stated that you never saw the defendant let his temper get the best of him. Is that accurate?
No. Yes, that is accurate.
All right. And were you around him all the time?
Maybe an hour or two cumulative over the week.
We talked a little bit about the anhydrous tanks and how they're dangerous. If I have an anhydrous tank and it's empty, what does it mean to bleed it off?
I mean that you would open up the one of the valves in order to take the pressure out of it so that it was at the same atmospheric pressure as the environment.
Okay, so now the tank is empty and it's been bled off. Is there anything dangerous about that now?
I would believe that there would still be a very small amount in the bottom of the tank that's liquid.
Okay, but it would no longer be what it was when it was pressurized, correct?
It wouldn't be as dangerous, no.
Okay. And you indicated exposure to a small amount could cause the lungs to scar. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And that would cause coughing?
coughing, shortness of breath, inability to catch your own breath,
Okay.
and in severe cases, I mean, it will kill you in a large enough amount.
In a large amount, okay.
It's-
Now, you indicated that you had been working a lot at that point in time, but the 25th was your planned day off, is that?
Yes,
And nobody expected you on the farm that day, correct?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay.
But to be fair, there was not very many days that I didn't at least drive through.
Okay. I believe, so on the surveillance footage, we see the defendant in his uniform. Can you describe the top he had on for me?
His shirt,
Yes.
it would have been a gray war rag uniform shirt,
All right. And was that, do you remember if that was short sleeve, long sleeve?
short sleeve.
Let me ask you this. If you weld with a short sleeve shirt on, what's going to happen?
You are going to get something called welder burn, which is kind of like sunburn.
Okay. And how soon after you get this sunburn would that appear?
Within hours, if you were welding in the afternoon, by the evening time, you would experience it.
Okay. And
Prolonged exposure.
okay. And then, so it could be anywhere from hours to,
I would say you'd have to be welding for at least an hour,
okay.
pretty continuously, in order to get weld burn. Like,
Okay. What if you were, well, let me ask you this. Let me show you People's Exhibit 74. What does that
Would
appear to be to you?
Objection, he's not an expert on welding burns, he's talked about his own experiences, but to be able to look at a photograph and say one way or the other, I think is out of this witness's purview.
I think he can testify based on observing his own experiences as well as observing the welding gloves that were taken from, well, the welding gloves that were pictured on the farm that day, Your Honor.
I'm going to sustain the objection. I don't think there's a sufficient basis for him to offer an opinion on this issue.
You talked about the angle grinder a little bit, correct?
that's correct.
All right. I'm going to show you People's Exhibit 38. Is that the item you were talking about?
That is correct. Yes.
All right. And that item can also cut through steel, correct?
That is correct.
Objection leading.
I'll rephrase it. Can that item cut through steel?
Yes.
You indicated that on Sunday, April 25th, that when you did talk to the defendant, he was concerned that his wife was missing.
Yes.
What does that mean?
He had formed an opinion of what he thought had happened to her. He said that she must have left. I can remember him telling me that she had taken some items with her. He'd noticed that they were missing from the house, and I would say he was visibly worried about where she might be or if she might be okay.
Did he express that in words to you, that he was concerned about where she might be?
Yes. And several times after that.
You indicated that you believe you assisted the defendant in putting some trash into the JCB back by the spray barn
Yes.
on Sunday the 25th, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to show you People's Exhibit 174. Is that the, what is this?
That is the end of that spray loadout barn.
Okay. And where is the trash container Well, what trash would you be taking out?
So, like everything else in the world that we live in, chemicals are packaged in several different packages. So your jugs of chemical will be packed in boxes. The boxes will be packed in crates. The crates will be put, it's all saran wrapped on a pallet.
Is there a dumpster outside of the spray barn?
No.
Is there a dumpster anywhere out here?
No.
Okay, and where would
Generally huck all the boxes off to the side somewhere behind the walk door. And then when we got to it, or the pile got too big to contain, when we had about a bucket load, we'd take it out and dispose of it.
I have nothing further.
Mr. Boyd, you indicated that an angle grinder can cut through steel. What's better to cut through steel, an angle grinder or a plasma cutter?
It depends on the application, but would be quicker to cut large amounts of metal with a plasma cutter.
Thank you. I have no additional questions.
The angle grinder versus the plasma cutter, is there one that's going to give me a straighter cut?
The straighter cut would probably be the angle grinder.
How long would it take to cut through about 1/8 of steel with an angle grinder?
It depends on the length, but it would not take very long with either device. One of them is melting it, and one of them is cutting it.
And what's not very long to you?
For instance, it would take 5 seconds to cut a chunk a foot long. In half, it would probably take closer to a minute and a half to cut it with an angle grinder.
So an angle grinder is going to take longer.
Yes.
And does it depend on how fast it's going?
They're all pretty much a set speed.
All set a set speed so you don't adjust the speed?
No.
But the quicker of the two is going to be the plasma cutter.
Yes.
No additional questions. Thank you.
No further questions, Your Honor.
We have several questions from jurors, if counsel could approach. All right, Mr. Boyd, one of the questions is about a prior interview, so we're going to have you listen to that, the relevant section of that interview.
For the record, can I please have you let me know the date of the interview that you're having him listen to?
Sure, so that interview was, well, I can tell you, so the time was 45:36. The interview was with Detective Drewer and Detective Singleton. I think it was 8/23/2024, but I'm gonna confirm that. It was August 23rd, 2024.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Boyd, so the question related to what you just listened to is, was there something said by Mr. Boyd in his original interview about loading trash in the JCB?
Yes. I did in that interview say that I remembered fairly certainly that I helped him load trash out of that barn into the bucket of the JCB.
Right, I don't know how you want to do follow-up questions, if you have any, if you want to do them question by question, or if you want to wait.
I'd say maybe all the questions, the way I think we've normally been doing it.
I'd like to go question by question.
Oh, okay,
so-
sure.
Okay.
So, that interview where you indicated you helped him take trash out was in 2024, correct? August of 2024?
Yes.
And you were asked if you remembered anything specifically from the 25th, correct?
Yes.
And did you really have a memory of 3.5 years prior?
It's my best guess that's what happened. I don't for certain remember that. I am 60 to 70% sure that that's what I did. It was a common occurrence. You know, if I went down there and Dale was loading up trash, I'd help him load it.
Okay, so if you were told you were by the spray barn that day, that would have been your best guess?
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Boyd, when you were interviewed, you said you were 85 to 90% sure that's what happened, correct?
Yes.
No further questions, thank you.
No, thank you.
Okay, so the next question is, any chemicals on the farm that would cause burns or red skin if exposed?
Several, depending on the length of exposure to them. I mean, most fertilizers are not real good stuff. They do have the ability to have reactions with the skin. They're chemicals. The worst one by far is the anhydrous. That is the one that's going to give you the most adverse reaction with the least amount of exposure.
You were exposed to a chemical that caused burns to your body. How long would that exposure or that take to show?
With regard to anhydrous,
I just would ask that it be based on his personal knowledge. So if this has happened to him, he says it, or if he saw it happen to someone, rather than just speculating about this, because he's not an expert in this.
no, and you're right. I'm
Okay,
not.
so I'm just going to ask you not to speak any further. Ms. Wise, do you have any response to that?
I'll rephrase the question.
Okay.
Have you personally observed any burns that you know to be from chemical burns?
Yes.
The chemicals that you just described?
Yes.
Okay, and who was that? Who did you observe that on?
On myself. I mean, we would handle chemicals, and from time to time I would get a little on my forearm.
What chemical did you burn yourself with?
I believe it was liquid 28, but I couldn't tell you for sure.
And did that cause blistering or anything?
Did not cause blistering. I actually was covered head to toe in it, and it wasn't quite as bad as a sunburn, but it was definitely very itchy, very uncomfortable, very red.
Thank you.
I have no questions on that topic. Thank you.
To your knowledge, how often would anhydrous tanks from the manufacturer be modified by employees or people at the farm?
To my knowledge, maybe 1 or 2 a year. I mean, we didn't do a ton of maintenance if something was broken, but that really wasn't my duty. That was it was usually done by Jim, if I remember right, as far as maintenance on the tanks.
So when you said maintenance on the tanks, I think I heard you say, is it Jim, is that correct?
Yes.
Jim Hawkins?
Yes.
Okay, so you wouldn't know anything about maintenance or altering tanks?
Nothing more than changing tires and wheel bearings.
Thank you.
Do you know, were the tanks purchased from the manufacturer, or were some of them purchased used?
I believe it was a mix, but I wouldn't be able to comment really on that.
Okay, thank you.
Does the plasma cutter need gas to function or cut?
No. Plasma cutters work off of, so you would supply an air source, compressed air from an air compressor, as well as usually it's a 220 volt electrical current, and that's what causes, that's what it uses to cut.
No follow-up on that question, Your Honor.
No follow-up, thank you.
Does Jaron normally work in the spray barn?
Only probably as much as I did, which was fairly limited. I don't believe that he even had knowledge of how to run the loadout system in that barn. So he would have been in there as much or less than me, to my knowledge.
When you say you would have been in the spray barn as much or less than you, how often were you actually in that spray barn?
In season, maybe 2 to 3 times a week, maybe on, if we had a lot of customers that were doing liquid fertilizer application.
Thank you.
No follow-up, thank you.
Is it typical that Dale would spray on a day as windy as April 25th, and that's in reference to the tree moving in the camera?
You are not supposed to, and it was not. It's not recommended. I don't. I was not around the farm when he usually sprayed, so I wouldn't have a whole lot of knowledge on that.
No follow-up.
No follow-up, thank you.
Okay, and so that is all of the questions. Can we excuse Mr. Boyd from his subpoena at this point?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so Mr. Boyd, you are released. You're free to go, or if you wanted to remain in the courtroom, you're able to do that now as well. All right, before your next witness, Mr. McCready, why don't we take a short break, and I'll use that opportunity to address the questions that were not asked and give everybody a chance to get up and move around a little bit. Okay, so we had several questions that were not asked, and I believe with respect to all of these, the attorneys agreed that they should not be asked. So I just want an opportunity to read those into the record. The first is, most likely, what would Dale have used the grinder tool for? The next is it possible to reliably identify the individual who performed a weld based solely on its visual appearance? If yes, have you had an opportunity to inspect the weld on tank 34? And if yes, can you determine who welded tank 34? The next is, on all the anhydrous tanks you've seen at the farm, have you ever seen another cover over the relief valves like the one on tank 34? Are those covers always factory or manufacturer installed? And the last is, have you ever noticed Dale and Dee argue? If so, did it ever turn physical? Is that accurate, Ms. Wise and Ms. Chartier?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And so with respect to the last question, we did decide that was a question I received early on in the testimony and that it had been adequately covered. I think that's the only one of those that we had that issue with. All right, anything else we need to address on the record right now?
Your Honor, I would just place on the record that we did have a witness who appeared today that was going to testify this afternoon, Jason Gravel, and we have sent him home and asked him to return Tuesday morning at 9 a.m.
All right. Anything else then?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, so let's take 5 or 10 minutes. We'll come back and proceed with the next witness.
Thank you.
Circuit Court is in session. The Honorable Michael O. Saber presiding. You may be seated.
Okay, are we ready to bring the jury back?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may be seated.
Okay, people may call their next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The people called Jim Hawkins.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hawkins. Before you sit down, I'll ask you to raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty for perjury?
I do.
Okay, you can sit in that chair right there.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hawkins.
Hello.
Could you please state your full name and spell it for the record?
James Edward Hawkins, JamesedWardHawkins.
All right, thank you, sir. Do you work at the Munger property?
Yes, I do.
How long have you worked there? When did you start?
I started part-time in 2013 and went full-time in 2016.
Okay, and you've been full-time ever since?
Yes.
Okay. And on Monday, you go back to the farm to work?
I go back to work tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow? Yeah, okay, great. And is there one building in particular that you work in?
Yes, I work in the building that's on the west side of the house.
Okay, do you see the map right behind you?
Yeah, that one right there.
Okay. And which, is this a number on it?
Number 1.
Okay. And what do you call that building?
I call that top shop.
Okay. Are there 2 parts to that building?
Yes, there's an upper and a lower.
Okay. So you have to go down a ramp to get from one
Yes.
to the other? Okay. Are you in charge of the anhydrous tanks?
I am in charge of getting them ready to use
Okay.
at servicing and stuff like that.
Sure. Let me show you People's Exhibit 160. And ask you to look at the screen. Do you recognize those 2 white tanks?
Yeah, they're the mother tank and nurse tank.
Okay. And what do they have those for?
Those are the stored anhydrous.
Okay. Do you have any idea how many gallons of anhydrous are in there?
The mother one, I believe, would probably be around 30,000 gallons.
Okay. And then the one to the right of the big one, is
That's
that?
the nurse.
That's the nurse, okay. And if you are going to fill the anhydrous tanks that go out into the field, is this where you'd take them?
Yes.
And what would you do?
I'd take the tanks down there, I'd hook up the hoses to them, I'd open up the valves and fill them.
Okay. I'm showing you what's been marked as People's 96. Is this the a type of anhydrous tank that would go out in the field?
Yes.
All right, and I'm going to zoom up here. Do you see the red and yellow knobs?
Yes.
Could you tell us what those are for?
The red one is to fill the tank, and the yellow one is the vapor to expel the gases when you're filling the tank.
Okay. And where do the gases go?
It goes into the mother and nurse tank.
Okay, so it's kind of like a circle?
Yes.
Okay. And could you describe how you go about filling the tank?
You'd hook one of the hoses up to the red valve, and hook one up to the yellow valve.
Okay, right here. This is the red valve we're talking about?
Right, that's the fill valve.
Okay, and then right here's
The
the yellow
yellow
one?
one's the vapor valve.
Okay, is there a hose that hooks up to that too?
Yes.
Okay,
And you slowly, and you open up your anhydrous lines that go to it, and you slowly open up the valves until you get it, until they're opened, and you turn the pump on and you fill them.
okay, so the anhydrous lines are coming from the mother and the nurse tank?
Yes.
Okay, and then where do you open up the valve? Is that attached to the mother
No,
tank?
you got your 2 hoses that hook to that. You got 2 valves, 1 valve on each hose,
Okay,
and then you slowly open up the 2 valves on the tank,
okay, and then you turn on the pump?
then turn on the pump.
Okay, and then how do you know when it's enough?
You're looking at the gauge when you're filling, and when they hit 85%, you stop.
Okay, and probably can't see the gauge very well, but you're saying there is a gauge on the tank?
Yes.
Okay, do you actually see it in that photo?
I can't see it in that photo.
Yeah, me either. Okay,
Gotta be between the yellow and the red valve.
right, it would be in this
On the
in
tank
this area
itself.
right here, right?
Yeah, it'd be in between the 2 valves.
Yeah, okay, so that might be it right there, but, in any case, so it gets to 85%, is that what you said, or?
Yes.
Or is it 80?
85%.
Okay, and how does that get measured? Like, how does the gauge know that it's at 85?
It's got it senses the liquid coming up the tube on the bottom of the gauge.
Okay, so there's a tube that goes down from that gauge into the tank,
Yes.
all right, and does that tube have a name,
I don't know, this is
as far as you know?
part of the gauge.
Okay. All right, is one of those called the draw valve?
Yeah, the unload valve would be the one in the front, the red valve in the front underneath the,
So are you referring to this right here?
yes.
Okay, and what is that?
That is the unload valve. That's where you hook it up to your equipment and you open the valve, and that's what puts the anhydrous in the ground.
Okay, so you're out in the field, you've got this hooked up to the farm implement that you're towing this with, right? Is that
Yes.
yes? Okay, and that's where the anhydrous comes out and gets onto the ground?
Correct.
Okay. Now, I want to direct your attention to Exhibit 90. Oops. Yes, Exhibit 90. All right, so I want you to look at the very left edge of this picture, do you see a white little stack coming off the back of the anhydrous tank?
Yes,
Okay, do you know what that is?
that is a cover going over what I call the pop-off valve.
Okay, and what is the pop-off valve there
When the
for?
tank gets overpressurized, it'll blow that off.
Okay, and if you're anywhere near the tank, are you gonna be able to tell that that has popped off?
Yeah, you see vapor and sometimes the liquid flowing out, coming out.
Okay, and if that happens, is it dangerous?
Is it dangerous? Not really, unless you're on it. But if you smell it, then it's not too bad.
Okay, and so what would you do if that were to pop off? What would you do to fix it or to address the problem?
If it all depends if the tank was empty or full.
Okay, if it's empty, what do you do?
I'd change the valve.
You
I'd
just
change the pop-off.
Okay, and if it was full?
And then I'd have to offload the tank in order to fix it.
And how do you offload the tank?
You hook up the two lines to the fill in the vapor valve and you put it into another tank.
So you put it into just another field anhydrous
Yes.
tank?
That's empty,
Okay,
yes.
and were the tanks always full, or were they sometimes empty, or how did that work? On the farm, I mean.
Usually if I'm working on them, they're usually empty.
Okay. Now, if one of these field anhydrous tanks had a hole in it in the tank itself, would that tank be any good?
No, because it'll be leaking all the anhydrous out.
Okay, because you're trying to put pressure into it, right? Because you got that gauge. Is that correct?
Yes,
And and then the hole would be doing what?
it'd be leaking anhydrous out.
Okay. And if you had a tank like that had a hole in it, what would you do with it?
I'd put it out of service.
Okay. So you wouldn't use it anymore?
No,
You wouldn't try to fix it?
I'd try to fix it. It depends where it was leaking at.
Okay, but let's just say there's a real small hole on the actual tank itself. Do you think you could be able to fix that and get it back in service?
Yeah, one of the guys that were there could probably weld it up.
Okay. Would you be the guy that would say, this is out of service and it needs to be fixed? Is that your duties?
Yeah, if it had a hole in the tank, yes.
Okay. Or what if something else was wrong with it? Would that be something that you would?
No, it all depends what was wrong. More than likely, I'd end up fixing the tank if it was a valve or gauge or a pop-off.
Okay. If something is wrong with the tank, do you put a tag on it that says it's out of service?
I haven't.
Okay, you've never done that? Okay.
I'm sorry, did he answer with a yes or no?
Oh, I thought he did.
No.
Thank you, Honor. Have you ever cut the end off one of these
No.
field anhydrous tanks?
No.
Can you think of any good reason that you would do that?
Objection, speculation.
He's the person that is over these tanks, and he knows what they do and how they work. I think you could answer whether it makes sense to cut the end off of one.
I would overrule that.
Thank you. Have you ever cut the end off of
No.
a tank? Would you ever do that?
No.
Okay. When the tanks were not at the Munger property, did you have a storage place for them?
Yes.
In where?
We had a barn on Carson Road that was a rental property that we stored them in, and in a place on Paragon that we
Okay.
stored them in.
And who was the person? Were you part of the crew that got them back and forth?
Sometimes, yes.
Okay. And were you the main person, or was there other people that were working on this more than you?
On bringing them back and forth, it was usually Randy that did them.
Okay. Now, in 2020 and 2021, so you had been there on part-time since 2013, full-time since 2016. I want to ask you about 2020 and 2021. How was the anhydrous business doing at that time?
It was slow.
Okay. So was there any pressure to get tanks that might be something wrong with them back into service? Do you understand what I'm asking?
No.
Did you need extra tanks at that
No.
time? Okay. Did you have enough, plenty to go around?
Yes.
All right. I'm showing you People's 100. So I'm looking at the back end of that tank. What is at the back end of that tank, right underneath the sign where it says Farmer's Antique? Can you see that?
Yeah, that angle bracket that's on top,
Right, and do you know what would be underneath of that?
that would probably be to pop off if there was something under it.
Okay, so at the front, you have this. Okay, do you know what that is just by looking at it?
That's a guard,
Okay,
in case it rolls over.
and what would be underneath that guard?
That's where your valves are.
Right, okay, so showing you People's 101. Those the valves that you're talking about?
There'd be a red, and two reds and a yellow.
Okay. How about that one right there? This is People's 104, by the way.
I haven't seen that,
You've never seen that?
no.
Okay. Have you ever, to your knowledge, ever seen a tank that you dealt with that had that type of angle over where the pop-off valve would be?
No, usually most of them are either open or they had the round cover on them.
Okay. Did you ever paint an anhydrous tank?
No,
If the pop-off valve came off and the tank was actively leaking or venting, would there be any reason to take it indoors to work on it as it's actively leaking?
no,
Why not?
because it would be an enclosed area and the vapors would probably end up being too bad, and you'd have the anhydrous leaking on the floor too.
Okay. Now, did your duties take you into the spray barn at all?
Yes,
What would you do in the spray barn?
I'd take the JCB down there and pick up all Dale's empty cans from spraying.
Okay. Is the JCB also known as a front-end loader?
Yes,
Okay. During spraying season, how often would you go up there and get the empty bottles?
quite often,
Like more than once a week?
once, twice a week.
Okay.
Depends how busy he was.
When you were up there in the spray barn, did you ever see the extra parts for the anhydrous tanks in the spray barn?
No,
Where were those kept?
they were kept either in an anhydrous barn or in the bottom of the top shop.
Okay. And those would be like extra valves, that kind of thing?
Extra valves, the seals, the gauges, the pop-offs, yes.
Okay. And as far as you know, having worked there, do people do welding in the spray barn?
No,
Okay. Do people do painting in the spray barn?
no,
Any supplies for either of those things in the spray barn?
no.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Nothing further.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hawkins. My name is Marissa Vinsky. I represent Mr. Warner. I have some questions for you. So it seems like you were one of the tank guys. Is that accurate? One of the tank guys? Like you primarily dealt with a lot of the tanks?
Yeah, I'm the one that got them ready to go for the year. I'm the one that filled them.
Where would the farm get these anhydrous ammonia tanks? So would they buy them used from people? Would they get them directly from the manufacturer, a mix of both?
I cannot answer that because I have never seen them buy one.
Okay, so you kind of just use the tanks that were on the property. Have you ever seen used tanks come onto the property?
Have I ever
Seen-
seen used tanks
Yes.
from other people that I filled?
Okay, so people would bring their tanks that were theirs onto the property. You would fill them. They
And
would
they would
take.
take them off.
in your role as the mechanic, you interacted with Miss Warner as well as Mr. Warner, correct?
Correct.
When you were working with Miss Warner, is it accurate to say there were good days with her and bad days with her?
That would be correct.
Miss Warner, it's fair to say, would yell at you during those bad days. She would scream and yell.
Yes.
And when you worked with Mr. Warner in your role, was he pretty easy to get along with?
Yes.
On April 24th, 2021, so that's a Saturday, you worked on the farm until about 7 p.m. Is that
Correct.
accurate? Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, I spoke over you. And you had actually spoken to Miss Warner at 6:30 p.m. that night,
Correct.
and everything seemed normal with her?
Correct.
I have no further questions.
I don't have regret now.
Okay, we do have. We have two questions. My understanding that the parties agree on asking both of them. Is that accurate?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Hawkins, did you ever notice a fresh weld on tank 34?
No.
Would exposure to anhydrous cause a burn on skin?
Yes. The liquid would.
Oh, could you want to say that once more? I don't think
I said yes, but only the liquid.
Just want to follow up and show you this tank 34. Before you saw this picture, had you ever seen tank 34 before?
No.
Okay.
If you know, are there any other chemicals that would cause burns on the skin?
At the farm?
Yes.
No.
Nothing further, Your Honor. We can hear this from subpoena, our work concern.
I believe he can be released as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your time, Mr. Hawkins. You are free to go. You're released from your subpoena, so you don't need to come back if you don't want to, or if you want to stay in the courtroom, you can do that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, so it's my understanding that due to our witness availability issue, that was our last witness that we have for today. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
That's my understanding.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we will conclude for today. Monday we are off so that we can address some other cases that continue to go on while we're doing this. So we won't be here on Monday. We will be back on Tuesday at 9 a.m. And during the trial, do not read, listen to, or watch any news reports about this case. Under the law, the evidence you consider to decide the case must meet certain standards. For example, witnesses must swear to tell the truth, and lawyers must be able to cross-examine them. Because news reports do not have to meet those standards, they could give you incorrect or misleading information that might unfairly favor one side. So to be fair to both sides, you must follow that instruction. So have a nice weekend, and we'll see you back on Tuesday. Is there anything that needs to be addressed outside the presence of the jury at this point before we adjourn?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you then. We will see you on Tuesday morning.